right, thank you everyone. I hope you had a nice lunch. I hope all the cheering out there that we supplied for you got you all very excited to come back to this session. But thank you all very much for coming back. We have just one last presentation that I'm very excited about. It's how California and North Carolina got people with physical disabilities out on the water and fishing. But before I jump into that, I just want to go mention a little bit of updates on our First Catch Centers because they both utilize the First Catch Centers in their work. We've been talking about them the last 2 days, so I just want to give a quick update. We currently have 38 mobile First Catch Centers in 31 states. Here are some pictures of a few of them. We have South Carolina was our first saltwater one. Louisiana is kind of a combo of saltwater and freshwater, depending on where they go and they have their events. We've been working over the past year or so to revamp the program. We now have an application process time period, and we're reviewing the applications that just came in recently. We'll let everybody know next week whether or not they'll be able to get a First Catch Center. Luckily, we actually were able to get $75,000 in extra funding from Bass Pro Shops for First Catch Centers, so that will help out with not just new ones, but also we'll be looking back to go back to established First Catch Centers and see if they need repairs, new wrapping, new equipment. So we'll be on the lookout. Kayla Hornberg will be working to make that happen in the next few months. Also, additionally, we're going to be working to create webinars for the First Catch Center managers so that you all can stay in touch with each other, or any fishing trailer. It does not need to be First Catch Center. So we can all continue to talk to each other, share best practices throughout the year. In 2024, we saw 673 events. Almost 60,000 people attended those events from the mobile First Catch Centers. So definitely a major increase over 2023. We're looking to get that even higher in 2025. Also creating a few case studies as well as we go that we'll be sending out at the same time. Okay. So now, without further ado, I'd like to bring up Richard Munoz. Richard is based in Sacramento on the ancestral lands of the Miwok and Nisenan people. He champions urban fishing initiatives through innovative partnerships and systemic changes. He's passionate about the restorative and healing powers of fishing and time spent outdoors.
Hey, thank you. All right, test. Good, cool. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, an honor to be here. So we'll get right into it. The picture on the screen has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but it was just adorable, so I had to throw it in. So a couple of threads I'm going to weave through this presentation, kind of the what, the how, and the why. And interwoven with that is going to be this idea of sowing and reaping, which is what we've been doing for a long time, trying to sow certain seeds within our community. That what I'm going to share with you is kind of the reaping of those seeds that we've been sowing for a long time. So one of the what's that we do, and kind of starting at this agency level, California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Our mission is to manage California's diverse fish, wildlife, and plant resources and the habitats upon which they depend for their ecological value and their use and enjoyment by the public. So within this agency, there's departments, regions, branches, teams, units, et cetera, probably similar to a lot of your agencies to fulfill this mission. And so this idea of what about the use and enjoyment by the public part. So that's where I come in, that's where my program comes in. And my program is called Fishing in the City. It's a statewide program. I coordinate the Sacramento metropolitan area specifically. And the intention of Fishing in the City is to facilitate the use and enjoyment by the public part of our mission. So our mission is be a capable ally and join communities to expand access for all to parks, open spaces, nature, and cultural amenities, and to ensure that fishing opportunities are accessible, safe, and welcoming to all people, especially those who have historically been prevented from enjoying them and the health benefits that they afford. So this is part of that what, right? This is part of the seeds that we're sowing. I'm gonna break this down just real quick. And so the first part, you might be asking, like, what does it have to do with anything, with fishing, with license sales, R3, et cetera? Not that much, really, but it's in there on purpose. And the reason for that is it puts in our hearts and minds internally and to our partners externally that we are a part of this community. We want to be an ally and join the work that's being done in the community to help people heal, help people spend time outdoors. And if it's fishing, yes, we want to be a part of that, even if it's just going outside. Like, we also want to be a part of that and be a functioning part of the community. The second part's a little more straightforward, right? Ensure that fishing opportunities are accessible, safe, and welcoming. Accessible, safe, and welcoming is incredibly important. I think a lot of what I've heard this whole time during this workshop is people also trying to figure out what that looks like for their different audiences. So that's what we want to be intentional about as well. And then that third part was important. That was something that I explicitly wanted to put in there. The reason for that is, specifically for California, there's some specific instances of exclusionary practices or laws or regulations. I don't think we're unique in that sense. Government being government, this happens kind of inadvertently. So I wanted to make sure we brought special intention to work with those people that have been like excluded or lost or forgotten or feel left out, that we have an eye for them, we have a heart for them, and we want to make sure that they're included and brought into the fold. So these missions plant the seed in the hearts and minds. They plant the seeds in my supervisor. They plant the seeds in my staff, myself, managers, participants, that we are part of the community, will function that way, and that we have a special eye for folks that have been excluded. And like, I believe her name was Brittany, who started, how she said the apathy is one of our foes. And the way to combat apathy was advocacy. So what I'm advocating for is to combat our own apathy with advocating. So this is an opportunity, this mission is an opportunity for us to advocate for our partners, for our communities, internally and externally. And this what is kind of how we plant those seeds and do that. It's part of our mission, not the agency mission, and part of me just feels like it's the right thing to do. So these are the whats. So moving on to kind of some of the hows. We talked about the seeds that we're planting and the different missions through the what. I want to touch on how we do this, how we fertilize, how we cultivate, how we water these and care for these seeds that we've been planting for some time. So some ways we do that, we stock fish in inner city and urban waters, a lot of fish, catfish in the winter or summertime, trout in the cooler months. We do resource assessments to maximize the resources we're providing. We do first catch centers and learn to fish clinics throughout the Sacramento metropolitan area, and partnerships as well. And those are some of the most important ways that we execute the what. So these are the seeds that we're planting, and these are some of the groups that we initially kind of connected with. They work with different populations within Sacramento, just to make sure that we're connecting with all different groups, different people that come to us or want to get into the outdoors, coming from different places. So we try to meet them where they're at, and continue to just sow those seeds. So specifically with the disability community, right? These are seeds that we've been planting. They're beginning to grow. We've been doing this for years now. And I wish I could sit back and say, like, oh, yeah, I got such a heart for the disability community. Like, I went out to them and reached out to them, and they were so open and receiving us. But no, that is not what happened. They actually reached out to us, which I'm super thankful for. And the reason why they reached out to us is because they saw the growth that we have been cultivating and sowing in the community for years. Our reputation was beginning to precede our program. People were beginning to see that we care, that we want to be here. We're a functioning part of this community. So people began to reach out for us, and it opened a lot of doors. So let me pause here for a second and just say, I'm here. I come to these spaces, conferences, workshops, And I'm looking for that silver bullet. I'm looking for that, that thing is going to change my program. I can implement it quickly, get quick results, and, go ahead and share with my bosses and my boss's bosses, like, hey, I did this great thing. It's going to change the world. I did it in a month. It's amazing. That is not what I am telling you about here. Like, this is the long haul, right? This is the long view. And honestly, I feel like that's really what it takes. And I don't feel like this is a surprise to anyone. A lot of you probably know that better than I do. But I think at the same time, it's important to make that explicit and say that and know that and tell that to ourselves. So these organizations all work with the disability community in Sacramento. So UCP reached out to us, and they said, let's do an event. I said, okay, let's do it. So it was a smaller event just for their folks. And UCP stands for United Cerebral Palsy. So it was their community. It works specifically with the cerebral palsy community. So it was a great event, and I think the word got out. So separately, Therapeutic Recreation Services, which is a county agency, the disabled veterans through the VA, the Kiwanis, they all hit me up individually and said, like, hey, we want to do an event. I heard you did an event a few months back, and we want to do an event with you. So I was like, oh man, I can't do 4 separate events. I don't have the capacity, don't have the resources, don't have the time. So for better or for worse, I said, let's get in one room, and it was a virtual room, and I said, let's do this, let's plan this out. And I kind of forced us all together. It worked-ish. Anytime you do those things, you get a little bit of mixed results. But all in all, it was fantastic. And there's some nuance to the story as we get in. But this is us kind of beginning to reap what we have sown. The fruits of our labor are we're beginning to enjoy those because we've been putting in work for years trying to be a part of the community and invest. So here's a picture of this event. This is how we did it, right? People came out. It was a fantastic time. We had over 100 disabled people with various disabilities and their families come out, fish. Some people got to catch a fish. The bite was unusually really slow. I felt so bad. But we carried this kind of ethos and this approach throughout the process. So when we planned these events, I was so intentional to center the folks that were going to be coming. And I really leaned on the organizations to help me know what to do and how to make adaptations. They have the expertise, they know their people, and they say, this is what we need. No, Richard, that's not going to work. So we really adapted based on their expertise and knowledge. And it was so intentional. I was so intentional to make sure we centered those families and those people throughout the process. The event came together. We adapted our learning stations. They were well received. We got to help and facilitate this experience for this community. The result, we welcomed some new partners, galvanized relationships, and have begun planning future events. We got a couple more planned coming up here in 2025. So this is the what and the how. So real quick, I just want to touch on the why, because that's also super important. The fruits that we're reaping. So it's relationship. Right? That's what we're bringing together. Everything comes with. It's not always rosy and fun. Some of these meetings were kind of tense and tense. I'll say tense. But we were all invested, and we all had a mutual. We knew our goals were mutually aligned, and we were in it regardless of what the tensions were in the meetings. So it takes work, communication, just like any relationship, right? It's not always rosy and fun, but it's a catalyst for positive change. So be flexible and adaptable. Time is valuable. That was one thing I really learned. And they pretty much told me, Richard, we feel like you're wasting your time. You're having too many meetings. And I think they said that because there was some tension in the meetings. They didn't want to be a part of them, so many of them. But they did tell me, hey, we're having too many meetings. I think we could accomplish this doing less meetings. I'm like, all right, cool. So adapt. And I value their time. They value mine. So creating that space where people feel valued and supported. Collaboration is important, setting those intentions to center the audience. Utilize the expertise of the organizations and their folks. Integrate customized support. One size does not fit all. Disability community is not a monolith. There is, like any community is not a monolith. There's different nuances and different considerations for each disability and each type of disability. So those connections are important, and continue. One thing, I'm celebrating. I just want to celebrate. Like, it was so important to enjoy what we had done. For the folks that were enjoying it, the community that was enjoying it, and for us that facilitated it, it was powerful. It was magical. And to see the joy that people had and the families had, they loved it. In spite of some of the behind the scenes stuff that they weren't aware of, like, it was so important to celebrate that. So I can't stress that enough. And then repeat, continue, just keep doing it. So that's where trust building, relationship building, kind of maintaining those relationships. It takes time, but I feel like it's one of the best parts of the job. So that's all I got.
Thank you for that. I think one good point to note is we've been talking about community a lot. Women need community, go to fishing more, get out on the water more. But Richard bringing together all these partners also helps bring the community together in different ways. And I think that was something I really liked to see in his work, was bring multiple partners together to help that community. So next we'll hear from Matt Rieger. He serves as the Angler Engagement Coordinator for the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. Matt has over a decade of experience working in fishing education across several agencies. Currently, he oversees North Carolina's statewide tackle loaner, angle recognition, and learn to fish programs, ensuring anglers of all skilled levels have access to resources and opportunities to enjoy the sport.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try and stay away from numbers. I know everyone's been getting hammered with numbers and everything else, during these conferences. So I'm going to try and plant the seed more of ideas and ways that you can move an accessibility program forward. So kind of before I start, I did want to gauge the room. How many of y'all have accessibility programs that you are currently doing? Any agencies out there? So we have some out there. Oftentimes I feel like this is a group that gets overlooked very often, and it's very important to get this group invested. We talked a lot about community, and the disabled community is very strong. And they, can become your champions. So we've been doing these adaptive programs for a long time, but we didn't necessarily have a target when we first started. It kind of just happened organically. Like Richard said, these groups will reach out to you, and that's kind of just how it worked. But over the time, some of these programs started to snowball. We started to connect with new groups, and now it's kind of taken on a life of its own. So it's pretty impressive how this stuff can work.
The big green button.
There you go. So before you can really do accessibility programs and all that sort of thing, you need to make sure first you have access, okay? So what you're looking at on the screen right here is one of our interactive maps that we have on our website, and this will tell you where every single boating access area is in the state, okay? We also have the same thing going on, but with public fishing access areas. So you can go and click, and it will tell you exactly kind of what you have going on there. Looking at it, this is kind of an example. If you click on one of those dots, that's what you'll get. And you'll see those little icons down on the bottom that say, okay, this one has a boat ramp, it has canoe access, and it is also ADA compliant. Pretty much, and this has kind of been a prerogative over the past 10, 15 years or so, but our land and water and engineering divisions have kind of made it the goal to bring every single one of these access points ADA compliant. Now some of them are a little bit more difficult than others. Some of them are like gravel lots and it's like a mud ramp down there. But we're trying our best, and the goal right now is to bring 2 additional access areas ADA compliant every year. So right now we're looking at about 90% compliance, which is pretty good when you think about it. Here is kind of what we've got as far as one that has been updated. You can see it's paved, it's got access, that sort of thing. And this is what we're looking at when we update. Any of the new ones that we acquire, they have to be compliant. So we're pretty much going back and looking at some of these more rural areas to bring them up to compliance. Another thing that we're adding to some of these is kayak or disabled kayak launches, which you see right here. We work with an accessibility advisory council in North Carolina where we kind of bring in, it's about a dozen members of the public that are part of the disabled community. And whenever we do one of these launches or access areas, they go there and they actually give us feedback on, is it truly accessible? These kayak launches were one of the things that we got feedback from, and they were like, the seat is too low, I can't get on it. So using the disabled community to give you that feedback will truly make your access areas accessible. So it's one thing to look at. Here is one of the wheelchair lifts that we've been putting in at some of these areas. Right now, we don't have too many of these. We've got about 12 throughout the state, and when you look at it, we've got 500 access areas. But we work with that same advisory council to see where the need is for these. And we use information on some of the disabled licenses that we sell to make the recommendation of where these should go. Now, once we have these access areas, right, it's important to let people know about it. Now, I'm not a marketer by any means. I'm a fish head. So I don't really get in the weeds too much of this, and I don't comb through all the comments because, like some of y'all have said, there's some kind of nasty stuff that goes on there sometimes. But making people aware that we have these opportunities and access areas is super important. And these are actually some of the few posts where you don't really get too many negative comments. If you look, and here's one where we're putting that in, and you can kind of see all of these kind of examples of some of the posts that we create to let people know that we do have these access areas. But all overwhelmingly positive feedback from the public on social media. Some of the negative feedback that you see in there is not related to like the access area at all. Like someone would complain about flounder fishery, something like that. And there's nothing you can really do about that, but this is a good way to get the overall public on your side too. They love it. Everyone's super excited about it. So, pretty much tell the story of those successes that you have. Now, we do have our Tackle Loaner program across the state. We've got about 60 sites. And in 2019, we put this completely online. So it's easy to get people registered, so forth and so on. And when we did that, we added adaptive fishing equipment to this program. So these are some of the items that we have at our Tackle Loaner sites. Currently, out of the 60 or so sites that we have, we've got about 14 that participate with the adaptive equipment. One thing we are starting to think about as we move forward is making these items mandatory for the Tackle Loaner program. So if you were to partner with someone and open up a site at a municipality, they would have to purchase these when they start their site. Now, one place where we do, find a good deal of our partnerships is working with our health department. And they run these, it's called North Carolina Assistive Technology Programs. And they're expos, and you have people, ranging in all sorts of different disabilities that come to learn about, unique opportunities. And this is where we showcase the equipment that we have at our Tackle Loaner programs, how to use it. We have a track chair program where we've got 9 of these, fancy wheelchairs that can go over all sorts of wacky terrain, that sort of thing. And we bring one of those out there so people can demo it and all that sort of thing. But at these expos and fairs is where we get so much interest. And actually, if you look at that one photo with the young woman there in the track chair with the rifle, we actually found her there. And she has kind of become the face of our track chair program, and she comes out to some of these with us, and it's a real good deal. That other gentleman that you see in that photo, besides my ugly face, is Luis, and he's our ADA coordinator. So he really helped spearhead all of this action. And if you have an ADA coordinator, talk to them about what you can do as far as fishing programs and get connected with groups that way. So here's just kind of an example of some of the literature that we bring to these events there. So all that good stuff. This is the one that a lot of people ask me questions about, is our military community. This is kind of where our adaptive program first started. We do have, I guess you could say, it pretty easy because we've got Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, right on the doorstep of our fishing education center. So it was super easy for us to partner with a lot of some of these military and veteran support groups. The ones that we work the most with are going to be Wounded Warrior Project, Project Healing Waters, and Intrepid Spirit healing centers. And you find a wide range of people, different disabilities, but I tell you one thing, these people, they are very capable of doing pretty much just about everything that you can throw at them. So it's very exciting. And short story, we did a Wounded Warrior Project fly casting class at our fishing education center, and we had a gentleman who was in one of our track chairs. He was blind, and he only had access to half of his body. He couldn't use the left side of his body at all. Put a fly rod in his hand, and he was actually able to catch some fish that day, and it was very exciting. It was good stuff. So kind of what we've learned from doing these different programs. One of the first ones, especially with the military groups, we get so much volunteer recruitment from our military groups. A lot of these people have all the time in the world. They're looking for an outlet, and this is where we get some of our best volunteers. If you look at the picture on the right, that's Hector Gonzalez and Nathaniel Van Scoy. We picked them up from Intrepid Spirit programs, and the plaques that they're holding showcase that they were, Volunteer of the Year. And since they became volunteers, they've donated literally thousands of hours to our programs, and now they actually run programs on their own. So those are going to be some of your best advocates right there. Another thing with adaptive programs, like Richard was saying, you don't necessarily have to be aware of everyone's disability and what they're capable of. They bring folks, caretakers, parents, guardians, you name it, that are aware of everything that they can do. And these people show huge interest in fishing. And this is a group that you would really never be able to target because we just don't have them in the wheelhouse. But they show up and they learn just as much and are excited about fishing as everyone else in the program. So don't worry about small numbers of disabled folks coming to the programs. You have your entourage coming as well. Incredibly large community that is interested in these programs, and it seems like it snowballs. There's so much word of mouth advertising that pretty much happens with these groups, that you'll do one program and you'll hear from someone you had no idea about, and it'll come right back to you. Work with your health department to kind of find groups, put these programs together. If you do have assistive technology expos, go to them. Those are easily where we pick up most of our groups. And collaborate with these partner groups. Make them aware of what you have to offer and get feedback after a program. See what you can do to kind of better what you already have. Another thing that I want to talk about, and I've got my first catch center, and I'm running all over the state doing programs, and I make sure that I keep adaptive fishing equipment in my trailer, because I'll be doing a program for a regular introductory fishing program. Someone might have arthritis, okay, things that you don't think about, and they're like, oh, I can't hold the rod for an extended period of time. Have that equipment there, and let people know about it. I get so much use out of the adaptive fishing equipment from just regular programs. So keep that in your mind. And what we've got moving forward, we're going to continue to attend these expos and that sort of thing, to find new groups to work with. After all these programs, we follow it up with the survey to see how we can do things better, that sort of thing. So we're going to continue to look into that feedback. Currently, we're starting to work with municipalities, and oftentimes they'll have an ADA coordinator, and they're always interested in what programs that, you can work with them in their area. And we're going to start to bring more accessible equipment to the majority of our Tackle Loaner program sites. So it's not pick and choose where you can go. We're going to try and get it at all of them. And we're going to continue to try and advertise and make the awareness known. One of the key pieces of feedback that we're getting from our Tackle Loaner sites that do have that adaptive equipment is we want to let people know about it more. So I'm working with our marketing folks, fish brain, I don't do the marketing, but I'm working with them to kind of get some advertising material for our Tackle Loaner program sites and the adaptive equipment that they do have. So, that is all I have. Thank you very much, y'all.
Thank you both. That's such great work from both of you. And one reason why I want to have both Richard and Matt up here was to show Richard, who's just kind of starting out, figuring out his way in this area, and Matt's been doing it for a while, but both doing incredible work. Kind of reminds me of what Faith said earlier, is you kind of just have to start somewhere, and this is what we wanted to encourage for the disabled community as well. One of my questions for you is, what have you seen as the biggest benefit, either maybe personally or within your agency, of having programs like this?
Well, I'll start, but I would say the biggest benefit is, public support. Everyone gets on board with this. Everyone wants to see this happening, and support is something that every agency needs. You want to be able to kind of bring the passion and the enjoyment for what you've got, and kind of send it out everywhere. So you really find advocates all over the place doing these programs. It's great.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'll add that for agency, I feel like it's increased awareness within the disability community in Sacramento about what we do and how we're trying to connect with them. I think it probably is, my opinion, but it's probably improved our reputation within that same community. Personally, I feel like I've really grown quite a bit and really broadened my perspective and approach to how we do the program. The adaptations we've made, kind of like Matt had mentioned, like we've just continued using those adaptations. We didn't go back to what we had done before. Those have now become a permanent part of our program, and we have those considerations moving forward.
Great, thank you. Well, and when you have different events for different groups or organizations, how do you determine what equipment might be needed or what accessible equipment you might need to bring or find before that event?
So I would say, first thing, especially when you're working with a new group, is consult that group leader, because obviously you're not going to know the inner workings of every disability. So it's really just communicating with that group what their needs are, so that way you're prepared and you can have a successful event.
Yeah, echo, same. Love it.
Great. Matt, you mentioned doing, I think, feedback surveys from some of your events. Was it from attendees or the partners you worked with, and what have you learned from those surveys?
So we sent surveys out to the registered participant and their cohort, and we also send them to the group leaders. And I would say, as far as feedback, oftentimes people are just happy to have these programs there, and they're interested after the basic programs. They want more. So it's what we're trying to figure out now is how we can use this adaptive equipment for more than just basic fishing, like maybe bring some of it into fly casting, that sort of thing. So kind of looking in the future that way.
I think I'll add that, we've been, since kind of broadening my perspective, opened my eyes, I've been working with our Disability Advisory Committee to look at mechanisms within our policies that are already in place to be able to increase resources, and whether it's through more fish to stock, funds to increase, access docks, et cetera, some of that infrastructure that Matt was talking about, which was awesome. So finding funds for that and working with our municipalities, parks and rec districts, to try to increase those access and resources through the policies that are already in place but underutilized.
Gotcha, okay. I know Matt had mentioned having an ADA coordinator within the agency or having meeting with the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Richard, do you have anything equivalent to like either a committee or somebody on staff to help with that?
We do. Well, we have our Disability Advisory Committee, which we are by law required to have. But they kind of oversee the department-wide, agency-wide kind of disability efforts. But so having something more local is something I loved, and probably something we'll be connecting with our partners to bring about.
Nice. Okay. Great. Thank you. I know you're both planning on expanding both of these programs next year, so I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more detail what that might look like.
So for us, the expansion is essentially going to look like finding more partner groups. It's going to include getting more of this equipment to more of our tackle loaner sites, and seeing where we can kind of put some more of those maybe species-specific or skills-based programs into some of these groups.
Yeah, I love that. Can you repeat the question?
Which one did I ask? Oh. How do you plan on expanding some of your efforts for this upcoming year?
Yeah, thank you. I want to do surveys. I want to get some more of that, some more information gathering from folks. I want to continue to get partners and kind of strengthen the partnerships that we do have, and work with those partners. I'm trying to find ways to like institutionalize this into the program and into what we do long after I'm gone. I want this continues with the partners and new partners. That's kind of where, maybe I'm just getting older. But one thing it won't include is more meetings. It's going to be less meetings.
I think
more
that's
efficiency.
something we can all get behind.
Yeah. More emails?
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
No, that's great though, and it seems like more it's the sustainability of the work moving forward, whether either one of you are there or not, and that's, I think, very important for any of the programs that we all do like this. Just one final last question, and I had asked it at the end of the last session as well. What's one, you've kind of mentioned a few already, but what's one more piece of advice you could give to a state agency just kind of starting out working with the disabled community?
I would say work with your health department. They, are right there. They're in the trenches. They know these groups. If there are any fairs or expos, go to them. If you have any military groups, reach out to them. I can't say enough about the military and veterans groups that we work with. We get so much from them in the form of volunteers, you name it. It's incredible.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. We have a reputation, our agencies, with different communities, and different communities might see us differently. So I think it's important to understand that and be able to spend time to kind of acknowledge what those are, and work to, if they need to be, shifted, begin to plant those seeds to shift those, and to connect with people in meaningful ways. The other thing I'll mention is that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And once you're in it, work for that sustainability. Be committed. I think too many times government steps in, steps out, steps in, steps out, and we have to, one, get away from that, but also look to acknowledge and correct how we've done that historically. And work to let people know that we're here. We're an important part of the community, and we're here for the long term to be a part.
Great, thank you. And that's an interesting point you have about different groups seeing the agency in a different way, and that's probably something I know I probably need to take into consideration when in any of our BFF's outreach work, but I would think with state agencies as well, is depending who you're working with or connecting with, it's gonna determine how you talk to them or what information they might need to know about your agency. So thank you both very much. I do want to see if there's any questions from anybody else out here.
Hi, great work you guys are doing. A real quick question on your Gear Loaner program. What do your loaner setups, places look like? Is this like a walk-up shack where somebody mans that?
So our tackle loaner sites are mostly municipal parks that have a staff office, and that's where items are stored and people can register for the program. And all of them, to qualify to have a tackle loaner program site, have to be on a public body of water.
Yeah, great presentation, you guys. So I have less of a question, but there's a couple resources we have in Texas that we're willing to share. The last few years, we've been throwing Special Olympics fishing tournaments, partnering with Special Olympics. Those have been taken off, growing each year, more and more in the state, but we've created a standard operating procedure. If any states want to pick this up, have a full 3-page rundown of what you need to do, who you need to contact, how you need to set up the events, what you need. Happy to share that with anybody who wants it. On the tackle loaner sites, some other places that are good to look at, schools, libraries, state parks. Those are kind of some places that we target to have some of those tackle loaner programs as well. And then on the adaptive equipment, we've spent time building a list of different adaptive equipment and where you can purchase those from. We just kind of have a spreadsheet where we're kind of collecting all this data from different members around the department. So if anybody's interested in what kind of equipment you might want in your tackle loaner programs, we got a 20-item spreadsheet, give you some ideas, a starting point like that. So if anybody's interested, I'm Jason Mercer, Texas Parks and Wildlife. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share any of that with you guys.
Jason, represent.
That's great, thank you.
Hey, great presentation, you guys, and I'm so sorry if this was already addressed, but where do you get the funding for the equipment and the wheelchairs and stuff? And then kind of as a part two, when do you decide like what equipment you should provide versus other partner organizations that are maybe helping with the event that maybe also have wheelchairs or something?
So as far as funding, the track chairs were all donations, so we got off easy on that one. But as far as our other adaptive equipment, the tackle loaner sites will more or less purchase that from us, so they're paying for their own. But the adaptive equipment that I carry around in the trailer is through our budget.
How did you get those chairs donated? Wow.
Yeah,
I'm not supposed to ask questions. Huh?
I'll link you up with our ADA coordinator. He's the spearhead of that one.
Okay.
So.
Sorry. Funding. So our program is funded through predominantly through SFRA funds, Sport Fish Restoration Act funds, and so we kind of just build that into how we run our program annually. Our partners don't really have any access to funds to provide any of the equipment themselves. So we provide, all we ask them to do is show up and help us plan and kind of collaborate in that sense, but we more or less provide everything else. Good question, thank you.
Any other questions?
Tell you one thing, it is quite bright up here.
Yeah,
They
right?
weren't
We
wrong.
weren't kidding.
I'm taking deep breaths, I'm still sweaty.
The mic runners help us out with that, so thank you.
I think one thing I'll add, if I
Yeah,
could,
absolutely.
for me it's always important to understand like the why, your why, the programmatic why, the organizational why we do this, because you're gonna get challenges. Things won't be smooth all the time. There'll be times you're like, this is way too hard. Is it even worth it? And those are those times you remember that why you're doing it. You see when you get to the event and you see the why in action. So I just want I just share that to encourage you all, hopefully edify you all in that, and just remember that and hold on to that all the time, because sooner or later you're gonna need it.
That's great, thank you. Questions?
Hey, yeah, this is Emily. I'm from Tennessee. I'm curious, what division is your ADA coordinator housed out of?
He is in he's actually on a team with our social scientists.
Okay.
So different division from education, but yeah.
I'm also curious if I can address the room. Can I just see like a show of hands? How many of your states have an ADA coordinator? Okay. ADA is one of our big goals for this year, so we're kind of starting from the ground up. We've not been doing much, so I'm just kind of curious about what other states are doing. So thank you. This has been really informative, both of your presentations about what you've been doing.
Thank you. Was there another one back there, or maybe not? Sorry. Thank you both very much. This was fantastic. I really appreciate your time, your work, your efforts. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, guys. That was great. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I think a common theme I've seen from all the presentations yesterday and today is obviously just the fact that we want to help people be able to experience some of the same experiences we've had. So it's great to see all the different types of outreach and programs everyone has. I have a few housekeeping items before we do a final wrap up. Let's see. Okay, reimbursement forms. I'm assuming you all want to be reimbursed for coming here. So to do that, you'll want to follow these steps. You can find the form online on the event website. We will also send back, and we'll send an email out with it afterwards. If you were in Kayla's AI and automation presentation yesterday, you'll see that this last bullet point says to include the subject line 2025 SMW reimbursement. That is because she's automated it so that when she receives an email with that, the PDF with your reimbursement forms will automatically be downloaded. And for those of you who I've missed in past years, and we get a lot of emails about it that may have fallen through the cracks, this is going to make sure that does not happen, or maybe happens less likely. So it will just definitely help us, help her, and help you all get reimbursed quicker. You can put your ACH information in there. That will also get you your reimbursement quicker. But at the same time, please be patient. We have about 150 of these to go through, so we definitely appreciate your patience on it. A few more other things. We will be sending out a feedback survey. I heard a lot of great feedback already, and I really appreciate that. We will be sending a survey to get more information. It is anonymous, unlike Kim Garris told you not to answer the webinar surveys. This one's anonymous. But we do make changes on the workshop based on the feedback we hear. The R3 Expo, the R3 Exchange are two examples of things that we've implemented based on some of the information we read from your feedback, so appreciate that. We will send out an email when all the presentations and recordings are online. And finally, just two more raffle items. The next one is Pam Corin with South Carolina was very gracious to donate 2 handmade headbands. They are very cute, very pretty. And these will go to Melissa Cummings. Melissa, are you here? Okay, well, sorry, Melissa. What about Joshua Moulton? No Joshua? I mean, I can pretend to be Melissa Cummings. I would like that. All right, third time's a charm. Faith Jolly. Yeah. All right. Great. You can pick that up at the registration table. The last and the final raffle is for a Garmin watch. So all of you who stuck it out through here should be happy that you now may have a chance to win. Aaron Austin. Aaron Austin. All right. I'm moving along. Alex Klein. Got Alex Klein. All right. All right. Well, that is it for me today. So I'm going to bring up Stephanie, who's going to do a few last-minute wrap-up items. But thank you all very much. This was a fantastic workshop.
Hey everyone, thank you for being with us. I have just a couple things in closing I wanted to relay, and one thing I wanted to reiterate that I know I said yesterday, I don't know if Joanne just said, but that the presentations were all recorded from all the both days, and we'll let you know as soon as everything's posted online so that you can access those and hopefully share them back home with your teams, and so we'll let you know when those are posted online. First and foremost, I wanted to just take a moment to really recognize our team, and most especially Joanne Martonic for all her hard work in pulling this workshop together. Thank you. As many of you have noted to us, there's a lot of work that goes into this, and I also want to say especially thank you to all the presenters who have shared such great content with us, and how just everything that you all have shared is what helps us pull this workshop together, is that you all are willing to share how you're working to create superfans back home and share it with others, and it's fun to hear all the different ideas and exchanges and see that happening out there. And we really appreciated all that Brittany Hodak shared, and it was really fabulous having her here all yesterday. I don't think we've ever had a keynote speaker that not only spent the whole day with us, but also offered a working session at the end of the day. So thanks to those of you who were able to stay and share. It was, I mean, she really customized it to us and what we're doing and what you all are doing out there, and it was fun to hear all your ideas. And I know she said all of that will be shared back with attendees too, so you'll get to capture some of that that content and all those ideas that everyone was sharing on next steps. So more to come as we share that. And I don't know if you all remember, but when she was showing her chart, about how many of you all are first-time attendees or repeat attendees, it really was 50% first-timers and 50% that have attended one or more times and like me have lost count. But it's fun to have so many new folks here and so many repeat folks here all the time, and those exchanges that are happening out there. And we appreciate all the compliments you guys are giving us for this opportunity, but that's what's valuable and why we want to make sure you all can come to these events, is to really share, and we just really want to support you all out there. So really, we want to thank you all for being here and being present throughout these couple days and all the exchanges. We really value our state agency partnerships, and we just want to continue to support you all with your R3 marketing efforts. And we hope many of you, all of you, will implement many of the ideas and strategies you heard here. And again, share information back home with your teams and continue to keep us posted on how we can support you all and share all the great things you have going on back home. And we hope many of you will leverage the co-branding opportunities with Second Catch this year. We have a lot of exciting things coming up. I know you've heard our team mention we're going to be announcing new mobile First Catch centers this year. We have new state R3 program grants that will be announced soon. And all of our grantees from last year were part of the presenters this year, so that was really fun, and we appreciate all the hard work you guys do out there. And again, sharing those successes back and forth. All of those case studies are posted online, and we've announced most of them, and a couple more to be announced after the workshop, so definitely utilize that information and share it back home. And some other things we have coming up in leveraging the churn research, we've got JD and I and our team have some pilot projects to really work together with state agencies and retailers at the local level to really implement some on-the-ground programs to advance some of the efforts and really share some case studies back from that work. And soon, as you heard, we'll be launching year 3 of the Find Your Best Self campaign. So continue to stay tuned, and safe travels, and really thank you.
Lazy yellow moon coming up tonight.